Welcome to this episode of Amazon Data Dudes. I'm your host, Will Christensen, and I've got Brandon Checkitts and Nandine here with me.
Hello.
All right. So you may have watched our parent-child ASIN episode. We're actually going to dive in on something here. We have what you might call a Rosetta Stone here to translate back and forth between these two and other data points. Why as a seller, is it interesting, or as an agency, is it interesting to connect parent and child ASINs and other data points that way?
Well, the challenge with Amazon is they have architecturally different things. For example, an ASIN can have multiple SKUs, but a SKU cannot have multiple ASINs. Or fun SKU, FN SKU is what we call a fun SKU, is another alias for a SKU or a parent ASIN. So the mapping is, you got these different hierarchical mapping that you got to keep track of. And that's the challenging part, is knowing the terminology, knowing how they relate to one another is a challenge. And getting to the data is even bigger challenge too.
Depending on what you're looking at in Amazon, sometimes it has SKU, sometimes it has parent ASIN, sometimes it has FN SKU. The exact report you're looking on might have one, but not the one you want to join on somewhere else.
Yeah, and often parent-child is not in any of the report.
Yeah, that's only available from an API endpoint, so not a report anywhere. So fortunately, we built one of those.
And we're going to sneak this in here, and we could probably do an entire episode on AI and how we are using AI. But we have an AI query builder, which is basically a tool that sits on top of GPT 3.5 and our architecture hierarchy, and can basically spit out some results from inside of what's going on. You're going to show us how we can put the parent and child ASINs next to each other along with other data to just make that rapid connection between the data points.
Yep. So let me start with the problem. The problem we were running into is we have this data stored in a SQL database in tables. Just think of a bunch of tabs on Excel sheets, data, and how to tie that together and how to get access to the user easily. That's been a big challenge for us to make that data available. Before we had sheets and we had to mess with connections and tokens and things like that. We just wanted to make it seamless where you log in and you can get to your data. And not only that, in order to tie the data together, oftentimes you have to know SQL or some other sheets formulas that is hard to learn. So we wanted to put a layer on top, so an AI layer on top of MySQL database. So we built this sheets query. For example, if we wanted to get the SKU, parent ASIN, FN SKU table with all those identifiers mapped, where would we find that? So we would go to the AI query builder. It's in our listings table, and I'll just do select all. So that way it's easy. And I just run this. And what that does is the ChatGPT generates the SQL query, and then our system run the SQL query and spits back the data for you. So as you can see on here, it has which venue you're at, which is marketplace. And then listing SKU, ASIN, parent ASIN, sales price, brand, a bunch of other data, and then FN SKU here and your custom product group. But our ability to get to the data, and you can filter down, you can delete some of the columns and unselect a bunch of them, was this, we call it AI query builder superpower, which allows you to get to the data quickly, and you can filter it down by SKU, and you can put it into Excel and do a bunch of search. But the power of this is to get to the data quickly. And I use this quite a bit.
So it really gives you the ability to sort of plug and play, explore the database.
Exactly. Let me demonstrate here. Get to the data. So once we have the data, you just hit this copy clipboard. And then a lot of people are familiar with Excel or Google Sheets. And then you can just filter it down and see okay, I just want to see a list of search for the parent ASIN and cost of goods. And that data is available without having to connect to an API, without having to mess with Sheets token or anything like that. It's just, you log into Excel Labs, pull up the app, and you get access to the data.
Beautiful. Fantastic way to explore things and get to know a little bit more about what's there. And I'll mention it. We have that AI query builder built into the Sheets extension as well. So if you're already using the Sheets extension, you do have the capability to play with the AI features there. So anything else that either of you want to add to our advancement and connections between parent and child ASIN and other data exploration?
I do want to say that, like, for more advanced users who know how to leverage SQL, so this is just a basic SQL query that pulls the data back from one. Like, you can join the different tables, get as complex as you want once you know a little bit about SQL and leverage ChatGPT to write it for you. You can write quite a bit of complex queries in it using our data that we made available for you. So you can add advertising data, inventory data into a report and pull that into Sheets. So that's the power of getting data into customers' hands, and with a AI layer on top that guides.
The thing that I would say is a lot of those tables, we've already kind of joined some of those for you. So for example, it's like some of the Amazon FBA inventory reports, they just have FN SKU on it. We've automatically joined those tables on the back end. So it has SKU and ASIN on those or something.
Yeah.
So a lot of our reports are a little bit better than what Amazon provides because we've already done some of that simplification. But you can still obviously use the AI to join those in any way that you want. Now, the other thing that I was going to say is it's not just about parent ASIN and ASIN. Also, a lot of times it's about translating a SKU to an ASIN, which is not also trivial in other places too. So sometimes a certain report might just give you a SKU, but you want to group it by parent ASIN or something like that. So with that simple query that you saw that non-demonstrated there on the listings table, you can see how it has all those columns available for you to look up and translate from one to the other. That's, I think you called it a Rosetta Stone earlier, Will, and it's kind of like that. If you know an ASIN, but you need the parent SKU, like we can do that. Or if you know the parent SKU needed all the child ASINs, we can do that too. All those things are possible with it.
Beautiful. Well, thank you both for joining us. That's it for our episode today around the Rosetta Stone that is the database that Amazon makes a little difficult to get into, and Seller Labs adds some simplification and layers too so that you can get what you need out of it. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.